Hey, welcome back, guys. Good to see you again. So today we're going to do sort of a week in review. Again, weeks in review is not something that I typically do, but every once in a while I have a reason to put a couple of topics together in one video. Whenever I do it, people really seem to like it, and I have an excuse to sort of do that today, so that's what we're going to do. First thing we're going to talk about today has been what the internet hadn't shut up about over the last week, and that is going to be Boogie's comments. A lot of people know that Boogie2988, who's one of my personal favorite YouTubers on the planet, such a cool guy, I've been following him for a long time. He's known for the Francis character, and then also his gaming and kind of life vlogs. He talks about his life a lot. As well as just gaming stuff. And he's an awesome dude, really big fan. He was at Retro Palooza, which I cannot remember what state that happens in. Anyone who knows can tell me below. But it's a big retro gaming convention, similar to the Retro Gaming Expo I'll be going to in a few weeks here in the Portland, Vancouver area. And he was at this convention. He held a panel, which he and a lot of bigger YouTubers will do, where they just kind of sit in front of a huge room full of people and fans and answers questions, talks about gaming, life, or whatever it is people ask him about. Through that conversation, I watched about half of the actual video he posted of that itself before these comments blew up, and even in the section of his video that I watched, he hadn't even touched on the NX stuff. So I was surprised when I saw that this blew up, that at some point he had talked about the NX. Some folks he sort of maybe really knows or sort of kind of knows a little bit who work for Ubisoft, and what they've told him about the Nintendo NX. So everyone talked about this and made videos about it. I think it blew up a little bit more than it needed to. I didn't really expect that, but man, people ran with this thing. And it's certainly not no news, so I can't totally blame people, but it became a bigger story than I still would have expected. So I want to share my thoughts on that real quick. The gist of what he was getting at was that, again, he knows apparently a person or two who work for Ubisoft. They've shared some information with him. He kept it anonymous, of course, so that no one got in trouble and that nothing really terribly shady or bad was happening. The gist of what he's saying he was told by these Ubisoft employees that he knows is that he kind of was, I guess you could say, confirming the portable aspect to the NX, whatever that means. And ultimately something to the effect of you have your console plugged into a TV, so everyone's taking it as, oh, confirmation of an actual console plugged into your TV, and you're playing a game, and you can apparently take off of the console this portable device and take that with you to continue playing some aspect of the game, and then when you come home, you could then plug it back into your console and then continue playing the game on your TV. So that's like the skeleton of what he said. But it gets a little bit trickier and dicier because of how people have been dissecting his words. And I think people have gone a little bit off the rails and looked a little too deeply into it. I could be wrong on that. So if I get proven wrong, there's no reason to yell at me. I'm just kind of assuming that people really went off the rails on this. Here's one of the biggest things that I was really kind of surprised about and annoyed by. Is he used Assassin's Creed as an example game, and everyone ran with it like he was talking about an actual Assassin's Creed being made for the NX in this exact way. I can't believe how many people didn't catch that he kind of just thought of Assassin's Creed out of thin air. Because he's like, oh, I don't want to, I don't know how much I'm supposed to say. Let's say you're playing Assassin's Creed. That's like kind of how you could tell he thought for a split second of an example game, chose a Ubisoft franchise, and just used Assassin's Creed as a placeholder game, just to try to make an example. And I am surprised how many folks thought that he was saying Assassin's Creed is being made for the NX, which, again, could be true. But I don't think that at all Boogie was saying Ubisoft is making an Assassin's Creed game and that he was talking about an actual game running on the NX right now. It just didn't seem like that. It seemed like he just thought of an example game that happened to be a Ubisoft game. The other thing is he used some phrasing, and he's like, oh, you're playing Assassin's Creed, and then you take a mobile version of the game with you, and then you come back and plug that back in and play it on your TV. And everyone took what he said that way as him saying there's a mobile version of a game. It's mobile gaming. It's not the actual Assassin's Creed. It's like a different version where you're playing a mobile mini game and then you come back and bring it to your console. And to me, the way I read that, the way I heard that, I should say, was not that he was confirming mobile, but he was saying more portable. And I think that in the gaming space, there is a huge line defining portable gaming and defining mobile gaming. You can argue that they are technically by definition sort of the same thing, but when you look at how those terms are used in the gaming space, that verbiage to me is very different. Mobile is stuff you play on your phone that you download for 99 cents, and it's touch and it's Angry Birds and it's that kind of stuff. Portable is what the 3DS does and is what the PlayStation Vita and the PSP do, and that's what Game Boy games were. They're kind of real games made by more traditional real developers that are fully fleshed out experiences that are going to be your $20, $30, $40 purchases in a store. That's a portable game. And yes, he used the word mobile. I won't deny this, but to me, it felt like he wasn't really thinking about the distinction. I mean, I could be wrong. Again, I could be wrong on all this, but I don't think he was trying to say it's going to be a cell phone mini game that you play between your console sessions. To me, what I think he was ultimately saying, if any of this is true, maybe it's all wrong, by the way, but what I think he was saying, or the impression he got from whoever he knows at Ubisoft, is that you would be playing Assassin's Creed or some game on your TV, and then you could pull off the portable version of the NX from the console and continue playing the same game, only on a portable device, a mobile device. Yes, he used mobile, but I don't think he's talking about cell phone crappy mini games. He's talking about, I think, playing the actual game you've been playing on your TV, only in portable form, and you could play the same save, the same scenario wherever you are at that game at the time you move it to your portable, play it while you're out and about on the go, and then when you come back, you can plug it in and continue the same game. Way back, last year, 2015, that was actually a theory that was kind of running around when the first versions of this portable rumor showed up, and that has since been dropped. People forgot all about it, but I think that this is bringing this concept back to light, that all it is you can continue your same play experience on the go, and then put it right back onto your TV and continue it again, so that you get this continuous organic movement from home console TV to portable in your hand to TV to in your hand, TV in your hand, and back and forth. And I know he used the word mobile, but everyone is like, oh God, is this confirming mobile? Does this mean it's a mobile device? Does this mean you're going to play mini games and you're not going to play the real game? What is this dumb stuff? And it's like, you guys, we're jumping to conclusions. I mean, it could be that, but I don't think it is, and it didn't feel like that's what he was meaning to describe. He used a different verbiage, he was in front of a bunch of people at a panel, and I think he just said the first kind of words that came to his head without really thinking about the difference in how people might take mobile so goddamn literally. People took mobile so literally, and I just don't think, guys, that that's what he meant to say. So, I don't know, in wrapping up the Boogie stuff, beyond that, he made a redacted sort of Reddit post, and I shared that on Twitter, and he basically is saying, like, don't take everything I said as law. I only sort of know these Ubisoft folks, and as some people said, Terminator Juice made a video as well, you know, he might just be covering his sources, or maybe it turns out that he wasn't really trying to say everything as absolute law and absolute fact. He did mention that what he had heard, whatever he did actually hear, made him excited, and he thought sounds really cool, and it seems like, if it's true, the people working for Ubisoft are genuinely excited about it. It's easy to make games for. They think the concept is fairly revolutionary and people will like it. So we can at least take it as potentially positive stuff happening. If it's not as true as it sounds, or maybe it's not true at all, then it won't really matter. But I thought it was interesting that Boogie's story just blew up like crazy. Everyone went nuts with it. And it'll be really interesting to see how it all plays out. The other thing I want to talk about is super exciting news for me, you guys, because in 2 days, on Tuesday, Gears of War 4 is going to launch. And I just wanted to talk about how crazy excited I am for that. It's actually a pretty big weekend overall. Paper Mario just came out on Friday, the 7th. And I've yet to pick it up. I'm going to be picking it up in a couple of days, I promise. But honestly, Gears of War is going to take up all my time running through the campaign and finishing that and playing online for a little bit. So I'm going to probably get to Paper Mario a little bit late into the game. I'm really sorry, guys. A lot of people wanted me to sort of review it or discuss it. I won't get to do that yet because Gears of War is going to take over. I'm very, very excited to play Gears of War. I discussed it on a video a couple of months ago when I mentioned how Gears of War 4 is my most anticipated game for the holiday this year, because that first Gears of War just blew my mind, and I've been a fan ever since. I mean, you can argue 2 and 3 and Judgment, of course, were not as good as the first. Some people think 2 is the best, which is fine. It's probably my least favorite of them all. Well, Judgment. Of the trilogy, 2 is my least favorite, but some people really love that game. For me, the first is the ultimate. That's the game that, to me, changed shooters. It changed online play for consoles. It changed how I saw the next generation of gaming at that time. It solidified the 7th generation to me as something special. And that even came out, if you guys remember, within the same week as the Wii and also the PlayStation 3. It was like Gears of War, PlayStation 3, and Wii all launched within the same week, the same 7 days back in 2006. And although the PS3 and Wii were crazy exciting, I mean, we had a big Wii launch party, a bunch of my friends, everyone bought Wiis, and we had them hooked up on like 4 TVs in my apartment, and we were all playing like the Rayman game and Twilight Princess, and it was so much fun. But when Gears of War came out, I was like, oh, this is what next generation gaming is like. And I was a shooter fan, and it was just a great new way to play a shooter that I wasn't anticipating. And like I talked about before, it showed me what the online community and online gaming could really be capable of. Because I didn't really care for the idea of online gaming or believe in it until Gears of War, Xbox Live, and I realized I could play this amazing game that I loved with people, both cooperatively and against each other, with a headset on, and I'm talking to them. And again, it's so obvious now, but in 2006, that was so new, it blew my mind. So Gears of War has such a special place in my heart. Overall, it's just a straightforward thing. It's just a big, bloody, brown, crazy, monster-filled shooter. And I get that. It's really not anything deeper than that. But sometimes, guys, it feels so great to just appreciate something in its simplicity. And the fact that Gears of War isn't anything special other than just a kick-ass shooter series with beautiful visuals and awesome gameplay, like, that's really all I want out of Gears of War. So I'm pumped. I mean, everyone should be really excited. Goddamn, we know we need some exclusive first-party content coming out this year for any console. The Wii U only had a few earlier in the year, and we all know Star Fox Zero didn't deliver for a lot of people, so that was kind of disappointing. I love it, but it was disappointing. So, you know, we did have Uncharted 4, now we get Gears of War 4, and I just can't wait, guys. I think it's probably going to end up being my favorite game of the year. And the last thing I want to touch on real quick is Paper Mario Color Splash. Again, sadly, I haven't had a chance to try it, so I can't really talk to you about any of the gameplay, but I've been watching a lot of reviews, and more importantly, I've seen the Metacritic review, and the Metacritic review is pretty interesting, so I just wanted to discuss sort of where we're at, what the state of that game is right now, because Paper Mario is a very interesting game coming out at a very interesting time. As I've talked about a couple of times, many times actually on the podcast, it's interesting because Paper Mario is probably going to be the last true Nintendo-made Wii U game. We are getting Breath of the Wild, but that's next year. That's going to be the end of the Wii U's life. That's going to be a game that I think is going to be more pushed by Nintendo on the NX than it is on the Wii U, and I think more people are going to purchase it on the NX as opposed to the Wii U, and I know it's going to be amazing, but really, that's like in its own little sort of thing over here. As far as games that release that are Wii U games, Wii U exclusives, made by Nintendo, after, you know, this 4 years of really great games from Nintendo, Super Mario Brothers, 3D World, Super Smash Brothers, Mario Kart 8, I mean, Captain Toad, Kirby's Rainbow Curse, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, Pikmin 3, so many games from Nintendo that have been awesome on the Wii U this generation, and Paper Mario is like the last, and I think it's awesome and also really sad. You know, there's a kind of like a bittersweetness to it. And it's interesting because the game isn't getting the overall glowing reviews that most Nintendo games do. We know because this game also doesn't look like the Paper Mario game that old school Paper Mario fans actually want. The reviews, however, have, I will admit, in a lot of ways been better than I anticipated. I mean, I think right now the meta has just recently dropped down to 79, but I know it was at like 80 or 81 for a good couple of days too when reviews started coming out, and I gotta tell you guys, I was excited, I was surprised, I did not expect that, but I was glad. I was like, oh good, like this game that everyone was mad about, that's probably the last Wii U game, what a crazy thought to think about. And it's actually not a complete turd, and it's not completely disappointing people. I've seen a couple reviews from some Paper Mario fans who are like, yeah, there's a lot of things this game did do wrong, and it is a shame that they moved away from the RPG roots and heart of the game and moved it to something totally different, and borrowing from the Sticker Star formula that, again, I didn't play that, but a lot of people were very disappointed with. But still, most people, even though they can admit disappointment in the direction of the game, a lot of people said, you know what, though, it's still a pretty good game. It's very charming. It's got fun gameplay. It's got beautiful visuals. And it's okay. Most people have said, hey, Paper Mario Color Splash, the last Wii U game, it's okay. And I'll take an okay game as opposed to a complete letdown and a complete piece of garbage. And I was a little bit worried this game was going to kind of pull a Star Fox Zero, which I hate to use that game as that example because I do love Star Fox Zero so much, but it was so disappointing. It was so alienating with its confusing controls. And the reviews, I mean, the Metacritic, I'll tell you guys, it's at a 69. Like, that's really, really low. And, I was worried that Paper Mario is going to be the same thing, or is going to be getting lots of 5s and 6s and just really be this disappointing mess. And I would have been like, what a horrible swan song for the Wii U, an amazing system, to have its last Nintendo published and made game be so bad. But luckily, we're not in that scenario, it seems. The game is reviewing in the high 70s and low 80s, and I think that that's really exciting. You know, we should be happy for Nintendo and happy for the system. You know, obviously, Breath of the Wild will kind of paint a different picture at the end, and again, we're going to be in a really weird situation when that releases, alongside the NX as a console and the NX version of the game. So that'll be really weird come March next year, or maybe later if it gets delayed. Like, I'm starting to think maybe it's all going to get delayed, but I don't know. We'll see there. Either way, I'm really glad Color Splash has gotten some pretty good reviews, and no one really seems to be hating it. You know, it's very, very reassuring to see. The Wii U deserves a pretty solid swan song, I think, and Paper Mario appears to be that. So that's it for today, guys. Just a couple of topics. You know, I was excited not only to talk about Boogie stuff around the NX, but also just talk about some games. You know, it's exciting to get a final Wii U game. Really exciting to get a brand new Gears of War that looks awesome. I cannot wait. The Gears of War fan in me is pumped. It's interesting. I've had so few Nintendo and Wii U games to play lately, and we finally do get one, and I'm only mildly interested in Color Splash. I'm literally going to buy it and play it just to appreciate the final Wii U game. I'm not super into the series of the game overall. It looks okay. It's just interesting that there hasn't been much Wii U stuff to play, and you know, I've got Gears of War to play. That's the game I'm more excited about. You know, a shooter on a different console, on Microsoft's Xbox One. That's what I'm excited to play. But, you know, I love all gaming, not just Nintendo stuff, as you know. So as long as there's great games to play, I'm happy. I'm excited. Gears is going to be amazing. Paper Mario is going to be interesting. And that Boogie stuff, man, the Ubisoft stuff, the NX comments, what's going on with that? Share your guys' thoughts about all this stuff below. What do you think about Boogie's comments? Are you excited for Gears of War? Are you excited for Paper Mario? If you're playing Paper Mario, you should share your thoughts below as well. I'd love to hear it, and I'm sure other people would as well. So that's it for this pseudo week in review, guys. Thanks for tuning in as always. This is Rob of Rule of 2 Review. I'll catch you guys next time on another video.